The Grand Fleet Exercise. The Zephyrian sector blazed with artificial light as 15 of the galaxy's most formidable warships arranged themselves in perfect formation. The annual Grand Fleet Exercise had drawn over 40 billion viewers across 1,000 star systems, each eager to witness the display of military might that had kept the peace for 3 centuries. Admiral Krixtar of the Zephyrian Empire stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Dominion. His scaled purple hide gleamed under the command center's harsh lights as he surveyed the assembled fleet through the massive viewport. 6 arms worked simultaneously across multiple control interfaces, coordinating the most impressive military demonstration the galaxy had ever seen. "All vessels report ready status," announced Commander Vex High, her 4 eyes tracking multiple data streams. The Zephyrian command crew moved with practiced efficiency, their reptilian forms adapted for multitasking in high-stress environments. Around them floated the pride of galactic civilization. The crystalline battlecruiser Shard of Eternity from the silicon-based Quartzians gleamed like a cut diamond against the void. The Mantarian dreadnought Hive's Fury bristled with bioorganic weapons that pulsed with living energy. The sleek Velocian destroyer Lightning's Edge practically vibrated with barely contained speed, its engines humming at frequencies that made nearby ships' hulls resonate. Each vessel represented centuries of technological advancement, the pinnacle of their respective species' engineering capabilities. The Thoraxian ships looked like massive insects, their carapace-like hulls hiding swarm combat systems. The aquatic Nereidan cruisers flowed through space like liquid metal, their hulls constantly shifting and adapting. The robotic synthetic collective's geometric vessels calculated optimal firing solutions with mechanical precision. "Initiate Exercise Protocol 7, Admiral Krixtar commanded, his voice carrying the authority earned through 50 years of military service. "Let the galaxy witness the strength that maintains our peace." The demonstration began with a choreographed dance of destruction. Energy beams lanced between vessels, creating spectacular light shows as shields flared and defensive systems activated. Each species showcased their unique capabilities. The Mantarians released clouds of bioplasma that consumed simulated asteroid targets. The Quartzians fired crystalline projectiles that shattered into thousands of guided fragments. The Velocians demonstrated their incredible speed, appearing to teleport between positions. Billions of viewers across the galaxy watched in awe as the display continued. Children pressed their faces against windows on distant worlds, while military academies paused their classes to observe the tactical maneuvers. This was more than entertainment. It was a reminder of the order that kept their civilizations safe. Then something changed. The first sign was subtle. Long-range sensors detected a gravitational anomaly at the edge of the exercise perimeter. The readings made no sense. Space itself seemed to be folding, creating impossible geometric patterns that hurt to contemplate. "Admiral," Lieutenant Zekros called out, his voice tight with confusion. "We're detecting an unscheduled arrival. The signature doesn't match any known vessel type." Admiral Krixtar's 4 eyes narrowed as he studied the tactical display. A single contact had appeared, roughly frigate-sized according to their instruments. But the energy readings were wrong, fluctuating between massive and completely absent, as if the vessel existed in multiple states simultaneously. "Identify yourself immediately," Admiral Krixtar transmitted on all frequencies. "You are entering restricted military space during active exercises." The response came in perfect galactic standard, spoken with an accent that seemed somehow familiar yet impossible to place. "Greetings, Admiral. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran vessel Infinity. We received your invitation and thought we'd participate in your little display." Silence fell across every bridge in the formation. The name Terran sent whispers through the crews. Humans were known to the galaxy, but as a minor species confined to a single star system on the galaxy's outer rim. They had been contacted only 2 centuries ago and were considered primitive by galactic standards. Their technology was laughably outdated, their military virtually non-existent. Humans? Commander Vexhai muttered, her scales shifting color with disbelief. That's impossible. Their most advanced vessels are barely capable of interstellar flight. Admiral Krikstar studied the tactical display more carefully. The human vessel appeared sleek and predatory, its hull reflecting no light whatsoever. It seemed to absorb the starlight around it, creating a void-like silhouette that was difficult to focus on. "Captain Chen," the admiral replied, his voice carrying barely concealed condescension. "This exercise is restricted to certified military powers. Your species lacks the technological capability to participate safely. Please withdraw to a safe distance." The human's laughter carried clearly across the comm channel, warm and genuinely amused. "Oh, Admiral, I think you might be surprised by what we're capable of these days. We've been rather busy since our last chat with the galactic community." Captain Thoric of the Mantarian Hive's Fury interrupted the exchange, his voice buzzing with insect-like clicking. "Admiral, my biosensors detect something unusual about their vessel. The energy patterns are unlike anything in our databases. Because we designed them that way," Captain Chen replied, somehow having intercepted their private channel effortlessly. "We learned quite a bit from studying your various technologies, borrowed a few concepts, improved on others, and developed some entirely new approaches. This casual breach of military communications sent alarms throughout the fleet. The most advanced encryption systems in the galaxy had been penetrated as easily as opening a door." Commander Yiltos of the Voloshan Lightning's Edge accelerated toward the human vessel, his ship's incredible speed turning it into a blur of motion. "I'll handle this primitive," he announced. "Time to show these newcomers how real warships operate." The Voloshan destroyer unleashed its primary weapon, a concentrated beam of accelerated particles that could punch through any known shielding. The beam struck the human vessel dead center and vanished. The energy simply ceased to exist the moment it touched the Infinity's hull. No explosion, no scatter, no absorption effect. The beam disappeared as if it had never been fired. "Interesting approach," Captain Chen commented casually. "Kinetic acceleration combined with particle excitation. Very efficient. Here, let me show you how we handle similar concepts." The human vessel didn't fire a visible weapon. Instead, space around the Voloshan destroyer began to shimmer like heat waves. The Lightning's Edge suddenly stopped moving, its engines still firing, but producing no forward motion. Its hull began to glow as internal systems overloaded, but not destructively. The ship remained intact, but completely immobilized. "What did you do?" Commander Yiltos demanded, his voice strained as he fought controls that no longer responded. "Localized space-time manipulation," Captain Chen explained as if discussing the weather. "We've learned to create pockets of altered physics. Your engines are still working perfectly, but the space around your ship is moving in the opposite direction at exactly the same velocity. You're trapped in a bubble of stationary reality." Horror spread through the formation as the implications became clear. The humans hadn't just disabled a ship. They had rewritten the laws of physics in a localized area. Such technology was theoretically impossible, requiring energy expenditures equivalent to stellar output. Admiral Krikstar's composure finally cracked. "All vessels, combat formation. This is not a drill." 14 of the galaxy's most powerful warships turned their weapons toward the lone human vessel. The combined firepower represented enough destructive force to sterilize entire planets. Energy beams, plasma torrents, antimatter missiles, and exotic weapons beyond easy description converged on the Infinity. None of them reached their target. A sphere of absolute darkness expanded around the human ship, swallowing every attack. The sphere pulsed once, then collapsed back to nothing, leaving the Infinity completely unharmed. "Your turn," Captain Chen said. What happened next would be analyzed by military strategists for generations. The human vessel didn't move, didn't fire visible weapons, didn't even seem to act aggressively. It simply existed, and somehow that existence became a weapon of unprecedented power. The first ship to be affected was the massive Zephyrian dreadnought Scales of Justice. Its weapon systems simply stopped functioning. Not damaged, not destroyed. They simply ceased to operate, as if the fundamental forces that powered them had been politely asked to go elsewhere. The Quartzian shard of eternity found its crystalline hull beginning to resonate at frequencies that should have been impossible to generate in vacuum. The ship remained intact but became completely inert, its crew unable to affect any ship systems. One by one, each vessel in the formation found itself rendered helpless by methods that defied understanding. The Mantarian bioships had their organic components fall into a peaceful stasis. The robotic collective vessels simply stopped processing, their artificial minds encountering concepts too alien to compute. Within 4 minutes of combat beginning, 15 of the galaxy's most advanced warships floated dead in space, their crews unharmed but completely powerless. The silence that followed was broken only by Captain Chen's voice, still calm and friendly. "I hope that was educational for everyone. We've been working on some new technologies during our isolation, and we wanted to make sure they were ready for prime time." Admiral Crickstar stared at his useless controls, his mind struggling to process what had just occurred. His flagship, pride of the Zephyrian fleet, had been neutralized so completely that it might as well have been a cargo hauler. "What do you want?" he finally managed to ask. "Want?" Captain Chen sounded genuinely puzzled. "We don't want anything, Admiral. We just wanted to say hello properly and maybe join the neighborhood watch." It seemed like the polite thing to do. Part 2. 4 minutes of absolute dominance. The aftermath of the demonstration sent shockwaves across the galaxy faster than the light carrying news of it. Within hours, emergency sessions convened on every major world. The images of 15 elite warships rendered helpless by a single human vessel played on endless loops, analyzed by experts who found their fundamental understanding of reality challenged. Captain Sarah Chen stood alone on the bridge of the Infinity, watching the frozen fleet through her viewport. Her reflection showed a woman in her 40s, with graying brown hair and eyes that had seen things no database could catalog. Behind her, the bridge hummed with technology that existed in harmony with its operators rather than simply serving them. "Status report, Maya," she said to the ship's artificial intelligence. "All alien vessels are stable and secure," Maya replied, her voice warm and conversational. "Crews are unharmed, but experiencing various degrees of technological confusion. Should I restore their systems gradually or all at once? Let's give them a moment to process what happened. Sometimes the mind needs time to catch up with reality." Across the formation, panic was spreading through the disabled ships. Admiral Crickstar hammered uselessly at his controls while his crew attempted emergency procedures that should have worked but somehow didn't. The Zephyrian admiral had fought in 3 major conflicts and commanded respect throughout the sector, but nothing in his experience had prepared him for this. "Engineering reports all systems show green, but won't respond to commands," Commander Vexhai announced, her 4 eyes wide with bewilderment. "It's as if the ship has developed selective hearing." Similar scenes played out across the other vessels. The Mantarian crew of Hive's Fury watched their bioorganic systems pulse with health, but refuse all inputs. The crystalline Quartzians found their mineral bodies resonating in harmony with their ship, creating beautiful music, but no tactical advantage. Captain Chen activated a wideband transmission that reached every vessel simultaneously. "I know this is confusing, so let me explain what you've just experienced. Over the past 2 centuries, while the galaxy assumed we were struggling with basic interstellar travel, humanity was actually undergoing what we call the Great Acceleration." She paused, allowing her words to reach the billions of viewers still watching the broadcast. The galaxy had tuned in expecting a routine military demonstration, and instead witnessed the birth of a new cosmic power. "You see, being dismissed as primitive gave us something precious: time and motivation. While your species advanced incrementally, building upon established foundations, we approached technology from an entirely different perspective. We didn't try to make better weapons or faster ships. We tried to understand reality itself. On the bridge of the Eternal Dominion, Admiral Krickstar listened with growing amazement and dread. The human's casual tone made her revelations all the more terrifying. "The techniques I use today aren't really weapons in the traditional sense," Captain Chen continued. "They're applications of what we've learned about the fundamental nature of space, time, energy, and consciousness. When you fire a particle beam, you're accelerating matter. When we need to stop something, we convince the universe that acceleration isn't necessary in that particular location." Dr. Venthera, the Zephyrian fleet's chief scientist, pulled up sensor readings that made no sense. Energy patterns shifted through configurations that shouldn't exist, following mathematical principles that violated known physics. "Impossible," he whispered, his scales flickering between colors as stress hormones flooded his system. "Conservation of energy, thermodynamics, basic causality. They're treating fundamental laws like suggestions." Captain Chen's voice carried on, patient and educational. "We discovered something interesting during our research. What you call laws of physics are actually more like habits of reality. And habits, as it turns out, can be gently encouraged to change under the right circumstances." Commander Thoric of the Mantarian vessel buzzed with agitation, his insectoid features twitching. "How many of these ships do you have? What are humanity's military capabilities?" "That's the beautiful thing," Captain Chen replied. "We don't need military capabilities in the traditional sense. When you can locally adjust how reality behaves, conventional force becomes unnecessary. The Infinity isn't a warship, it's a research vessel. I'm not a military commander, I'm a physicist." The implications hit the gathered aliens like a physical blow. If their research vessels possessed such capabilities, what could their actual military accomplish? "But don't worry," Captain Chen continued, her tone becoming genuinely reassuring. "We're not conquerors. We're explorers, scientists, philosophers. We've spent 2 centuries learning that the universe is far more amazing and interconnected than anyone imagined. We want to share that knowledge, not dominate anyone." She gestured, and across the formation, the disabled ships began responding to their crews again. Systems came online gradually, allowing the aliens to verify that nothing had been damaged or sabotaged. Their vessels were exactly as they had been before the encounter, except for the humbling experience of helplessness. Admiral Krickstar felt his command chair respond to his touch again, displays lighting up with familiar readouts. But everything felt different now. His mighty dreadnought seemed fragile, primitive, built on assumptions that had been casually demolished by a species they had considered backwards. "We've been watching your grand fleet exercises for decades," Captain Chen admitted. "Not spying, exactly, but observing. We wanted to understand how the galaxy approached conflict resolution and cooperative security. We've been impressed by the peace you've maintained." Captain Nieltos of the Velocian destroyer finally spoke, his voice shaky. "If you've had these capabilities for so long, why reveal yourselves now?" "Because we're ready to help," Captain Chen replied simply. "The galaxy faces challenges that conventional technology can't address. Stellar engineering projects that seem impossible, colonization of hostile environments, communication across vast distances, energy problems that nuclear fusion can't solve. We think we can contribute." She paused, letting the offer sink in. "But we wanted to make sure you understood that we're approaching as equals, not as subjects or conquerors. Today's demonstration wasn't meant to intimidate. It was meant to establish context for future conversations." Dr. Venthera pulled Admiral Krickstar aside, his voice low and urgent. "Admiral, if they're offering technological cooperation, we have to consider the implications. Just the energy manipulation techniques we witnessed today could revolutionize everything from space travel to planetary management." Similar conversations were happening across the formation and throughout the galaxy. The sudden emergence of humanity as a technological superpower had shifted every political and military calculation. Treaties would need revision, trade agreements would require renegotiation, and the entire galactic power structure had been fundamentally altered. "We'll be establishing a permanent embassy station at the edge of your space," Captain Chen announced. Any species interested in cultural or technological exchange is welcome to visit. We have a lot to learn from each other. Commander Vexhai looked up from her tactical display, where she had been running theoretical scenarios. Admiral, according to these projections, if humanity has been advancing at the rate implied by their technology, they may have capabilities we can't even imagine yet. Admiral Krikstar nodded grimly. The galaxy had just discovered it had a new neighbor, one whose power dwarfed anything previously known. But rather than conquest, they offered partnership. Rather than subjugation, they proposed cooperation. It was, perhaps, the most human thing they could have done. Captain Chen, Admiral Krikstar said, his voice carrying across all frequencies. On behalf of the Galactic Defense Council, I formally welcome humanity to the interstellar community. Your demonstration has been educational. Captain Chen's laughter carried warmth and genuine pleasure. Thank you, Admiral. I think this is the beginning of a very interesting friendship. Oh, and Admiral, next year's exercise is going to be much more exciting. We have some ideas about collaborative techniques that should impress your audiences. As the human vessel began to fade from sensors, becoming translucent before disappearing entirely, the galaxy was left to contemplate a new reality. Humanity had arrived not as conquerors or supplicants, but as neighbors offering to help with the chores. And somehow, that was the most terrifying and hopeful thing that had ever happened to the civilized galaxy.